Hello, people. This is Big Mark Jackson, and welcome to another installment of the Mark Jackson Show. We are so privileged to have this man, David Gerabaldi,
Yes.
here with us. You know, see how I pronounce the name? I got part Italian in me. What can I say?
Gerabaldi.
There you go.
Yes.
But if you don't know, this man is a performing artist. He performs worldwide in all the top stages in the world in different venues. And he's not just an artist, not just a painter, he's an entertainer. And we're so proud to have you here. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, no, Mark, thank you for having me here to have a conversation. I mean,
Yeah.
you are great at what you do. And so I like to just be around greatness.
I like it. See how you switch that around on me? That's the entertainers do. They gotta switch it around on you. So tell us where you're originally from. I know you're from LA, but you grew up in Sacramento, correct?
Yes, correct. So I was born in LA, grew up in Sacramento. Those of you that may not know where Sacramento is, it's in Northern California. And when I was growing up in the early 80s, 90s, there was nothing there. I mean, it was the state capital. It's like a kind of a cow town. That's what we were known for. Literally, our basketball team in the arena, we had cowbells. Like that was a running joke. But it also had developed too over a long period of time. So
During the time when you was growing up there?
yeah, I mean, from when I was growing up to what it is now, or even when I started my career, it's a completely different city. I love it. And I just feel privileged that I developed my career during a time where I could take part in the development of the city too, which is really, interesting and encouraging.
I like that. So now tell us, you know, for those of you who know, this gentleman performs in some of the most intense environments, and he does it in a short period of time. Tell us about how did you get, before we get to like the venues you're doing and when you're doing actually tonight, so let's talk about how did you get the love for art, for painting? Tell us about where did that come from?
My love for art started very young, before I could even comprehend that I enjoyed it. I would draw pictures from comic books. I would pause the TV when watching a Disney movie and draw what I saw.
Really?
And then eventually just kind of developing my own characters. But I would say I probably got more serious about it in high school.
Oh.
And I had an animation teacher who changed my life. So I was doing graffiti at the time, but he
We
came
all
into
did.
my life. He came into my life and I remember him giving me this speech. He's like, look, David, you could pay to do this or you can get paid. And I was like, how do we get paid? And he started telling me about all these jobs in arts, media, entertainment through art. And I just was like, let's try it out. What's the harm?
And this is high school.
This is high school. And that was also a unique place that I started learning about this. But if it wasn't for him at that time in this program, I would not be sitting here with you today.
Really?
So I think what developed my love was knowing where it could go.
Okay.
Because most artists are like, look, I'm going to create what I enjoy, but who's going to buy it? Where is it going to hang? Who are my collectors? I already had a path. I was like, I'm going to go to this college. I'm going to work for Disney or Pixar. I could see the path. And that was enough for me to want to develop it and really enjoy the process.
Okay, so when you started in high school, so tell me when you found out you get paid for this, and it's interesting you touched when you had a teacher that kind of influenced you to go that way. I think a lot of us have that story. Me as a professional athlete, a quick story about me, when I was in the fifth grade, the sixth grade teacher brought me in front of the classroom, in front of his classroom. And you know, I was awkward. I was a big, goofy looking kid. The kids laughing, what is he doing here? And he brought me, and he stood me in front of the classroom in front of these 30 kids, and he went in his closet and he gave me a basketball. I looked at it and I never played basketball. And he gave me this basketball, which is for, and he looked at everybody. He said, I see something in this young man that y'all don't see. You will be cheering for him instead of teasing him one day. And he said, I want you to have this. Remember, you got your first basketball from. And that kind of made me start thinking about.
Still talking about it today.
Exactly. That still made me think about playing basketball. I never touched the basketball until that moment. Me holding that basketball was the first one. So it's interesting how a teacher influenced you. Sometimes people see something in us that we don't see in ourselves, and we need some kind of guidance to kind of steer us in the right direction. So that's a good story. So you got to high school, you figure you get paid for it. You said means you create a career. How did you funnel from the high school artist doing it for as a hobby to now stepping into getting paid for it?
The bad part was I didn't graduate high school.
Okay.
So that happened. I didn't. By the time I figured out what I wanted to do, I didn't have enough credits academically
Okay.
to graduate, so I didn't. But it was also the good thing, because it set me on this path for the next 2 years of between 18 and 20, really trying to figure out, because I'd been introduced to what a career could be. And now with these skill sets, how could I start just putting them to work now? So I'd never touched a paintbrush until I was 20 years old.
Really?
Like, I had done art.
So you was just a sketch.
I would sketch. I would do digital stuff. Like, I'd never actually done brush to canvas until I was 20 years old. And I started doing that because I lost my job. I was broke, and I was like, I need to make money now. I need to figure out how to use this and turn it into money today. So I went and started painting live at local jazz clubs, nightclubs, but also I was painting in these environments with this thing that I love, which was music. I grew up also playing the trumpet. So
Really?
yeah, so I really genuinely
So you was a
love.
musician first? So now it all comes.
It was like a collision of all these passions.
Yes.
And so at 20 years old, I start painting live.
Like you mean, so what you're doing now on a smaller scale, that's how you started.
Imagine paintings just a little bit bigger than the table in front of us, and I would paint these images of musicians in about an hour or so, or sometimes less. And I remember this one night, this guy who's now a great friend of mine came up to me and said, "Have you heard of this artist, Danny Dent?" I was like, "No, man, I'm busy painting live. Like, could you excuse me?" He's like, "No, you got to hear about this." So he starts like acting like this artist who Danny Dent was the first performance painter,
Really?
80s, 90s. He's like, "You really got to check this out." So I was like, "Whatever, man." I get back to my painting. Fast forward a couple weeks, he was actually helping me with my website. I go to his house, and he has a Danny Dent painting on his wall. And I was like, "Is this the guy?" I was like, "This is it." And I saw that painting. He described what he did. That was it. The next day I was in my garage, my dad's garage, teaching myself performance painting. Yeah.
So you've been putting the years in, bro. You started off. You didn't start off while I started sketching. No. I wanted to get into. So then Danny Dent. So now I got to ask you about a controversial topic.
Yeah.
As doing my research. The word, you are a performance painter,
Yes.
correct? I've heard the term being used, speed painter, with some artists, but then also talking to you off camera. Tell me the difference, and how do you think the wording, and why do you consider yourself a performance painter, not a speed painter?
Yeah. I don't particularly like the term speed painting, because if I was an artist and I call myself a speed painter, I'm already limiting my ability of what I can give my audience. I'm telling myself and the audience, all I'm going to do for you is paint really fast, which is one part of performance painting.
Yeah.
I look at performance painting as engaging your audience, as in making the art process entertaining. Yes, speed is involved, but also how do we captivate their attention at various points throughout the performance? And so that's what I'm just more interested and passionate about. Now, if people call me a speed painter, it's okay.
You don't get offended.
I don't get offended.
good.
No, I just think that, like, if you're an artist getting into this, which I hope more people do, I hope more artists get into this style of painting, because it's changed my life. And there are other artists who are doing it. I'm just saying, look, give yourself a wider range of opportunity by growing as an entertainer while you're creating.
That makes perfect sense. Don't limit yourself. Don't let others limit you. Give yourself a broad audience where you can kind of flow in different channels. I like that.
But that applies to, a lot of other things. I mean, think about this. If I was a plumber, and I just said, look, I'm a plumber, like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
But really what you're doing, if you're a plumber, you're going into people's homes in a time where, like, they have a crisis in their home, and you're going in there to solve it. Now, I don't know what the title is of, like, plumber crusader,
Yeah.
but I think you just have to look at what you do as something greater than just the title. And I think by giving more purpose to it, you make a bigger impact, no matter what that is. So, whether you're maybe changing the chief operating officer to, like, the chief optimistic officer, like just what greater purpose could you give what you do? And that's why I look at, instead of just speed painting, it's performance.
Makes sense. So how is different forms of art? What would you say your art is?
I mean, it's like a portrait pop art. You know, a lot of images that I create are portraits of icons that we all love and know. And even if we don't know them, I can still use it as a vehicle to educate while I'm entertaining as well. So, it's portrait pop art, I
Okay.
would say.
Okay. I also noticed you have a podcast.
Yes.
And I also know you're doing a lot of teaching and encouraging other people, like you just said, to get started in painting and not to be afraid to jump out there, jump off the
Yeah.
cliff. Like a lot, to me, I believe, truly believe a lot of it is just getting started. It's just trying something. It's okay to fail. You master when you fail. I'm a big believer in that. So your first motivation, the thing that willed you, that gave you no excuses, is you had to earn income. You had to earn a living. But that fueled you and gave you momentum to jump out there.
Yeah.
What would you say early on was the most difficult time for you during that process of getting started in that?
I think building momentum, because you go into everything with like the most optimism. You're like, I'm gonna be this, I'm gonna follow my dreams, and then reality hits and you're not able to sell as much or you're not able to create as consistent opportunities. So the hardest part was being faced with the reality of day-to-day obligations and responsibilities while the dream wasn't matching up with that yet.
Ah,
And
okay.
so you're faced every day with an opportunity to change course and
Okay.
to give up. And I think that for any artist or I think any entrepreneur, if you can make it through that, then you're built for this. Because you really what you're learning is you're going to be doing this at a different level every step of the way. And maybe it's not a financial thing where there's so much momentum. What are the best opportunities that make the biggest impact? But I have more people helping me out with this as well, which I have to be a better leader, a better communicator, things that have nothing to do with art. So I'm still challenged every day. It's just that in the beginning, how do we just get this going? How do we just create the momentum, which is so hard to start? And there was many days where I thought, maybe I'm just not cut out for this. Maybe the dream of being a professional artist that I see in my head is a delusion. So
The doubt kicks in when you struggle.
absolutely. And it felt real. I mean, I talk about it now, but I love that you asked that because I go back to that place and I remember what it felt like. You feel defeated quite a bit. And I think the only thing that kept me going was I had confidence in the roadmap
Okay.
ahead, which was going back to my high school animation teacher. He's like, look, if you build on these skills, these opportunities are available. So I had seen what Denny Dent had done with performance painting. If I build on these skills, I can at least see a roadmap of what's possible. That's really what kept me going. I hope that through whether it's my podcast or any teaching platform that I can help give artists confidence knowing that there's a roadmap. There's a way to attract collectors. There's more to this than just creating. And in those moments where you're feeling defeated, that I'm like, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
And just one step further, there's another celebration right just past that.
So when you reach the dark times, meaning, and we all go through and we doubt, the doubt kicks in and makes us kind of think, is this my path? Is this my path? Me early on. Now you're this worldwide celebrity star. I'm going to call you that because I remember seeing you years ago, and now I watch you now. I'm like this. Touche, my friend. Touche. So when you the dark things like as a leader, as people who depend on you, when you reach a certain level of stardom, more people depend on you, more people under your tree. How do you deal with the pressure of that now, as opposed to when you first started? Now you have a name. Now people know. Now you perform all over the world. How do you deal with that part?
So I'll share a story with you.
Please.
I normally do about 100 live shows a year, whether we're touring with an act like Kiss or whether I'm doing my own one-off shows around the world. Pandemic comes in 2020 and we go from 100 to 0. So aside from just my employees, I also have my family.
Yes.
And so it had been a long time since I had been in a position like that where I was like, okay, how are we going to pivot? in this. And so luckily, I had already started a journey doing something that I had been tested in, and through the tests, I still enjoy it. I love the tests. So I just had a perspective that this new test is going to be based on something that I enjoy. And so we pivoted into doing what I already do, but presenting it in a different way through live streaming, where I had never talked before on camera while I'm painting. I was like, I love Bob Ross, but I also love rock and roll and hip hop. But how do we talk through this process through a live stream, which I'd never done before? So I just looked at it like the base of this was based on what I love. The challenge is an outside force. And I just got to keep looking back like the foundation is based on love. That was it. And so it doesn't make the problems go away, doesn't make the challenges go away. It gives you more purpose to keep pushing.
I love it, man. More motivation to keep moving forward. So now, you're in Philadelphia now. We're in Philadelphia. We're in
beautiful and cold Philadelphia.
Yes, as we know, we here and it's about the weather. Ain't seen cold yet. The weather ain't really here. But we're in Philadelphia because you're doing this show now with the world's greatest tenor, Andrew Bocelli.
Yeah, they call him the world's most beloved tenor.
There he is. He is. So, side note, I've seen him all over. I've seen him here. I've seen him in Milan. I've seen him in Paris.
You have great taste in music.
I love it. I love it. And the thing is, a friend of mine, she's a member of the Kimmel Center. She donates. And she said they get him an honorary degree and they want him to come in and have lunch with some the distinguished people. And she said, well, I know who would love to be there. And she invited me there and I had lunch with Andrew Bocelli and it was like, they give you all those bucket list things.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sitting in front of people have the Michael Jacksons, they have the thing, and I'm not, people know me. My father was a famous singer back in the day in Motown. And people know I love music. I love everything. I salsa dance. I love reggae. I love hip hop. I love everything. But like some of my favorite artists is Pavarotti when he's in. And now I heard Andrew Bocelli the first time. Like, what is that? Now who is that? I just heard the vocals. I'm like, what is that? And it drew me to him. But that was one of the bucket list things for him. But tell me, so let's talk about what you're doing with him.
Yeah.
Right. You're doing your own tour with him. You're creating art while he's performing. And it'll be auctioned off. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So I'm performing with him during one of his sets.
Okay.
And when the painting is done, it's right before intermission. So the painting goes backstage in his dressing room. We both sign it.
Okay.
And it immediately goes up for auction until midnight the night of the show.
Okay.
And then those proceeds go to benefit the Andrea Bocelli Foundation. They do a ton of work around the world in like disaster zones and
he does incredible amounts of work.
Really incredible work. And so what brought us together is entertaining through our talents. And then, but he doesn't need me. So I'm just adding, I'm like on the side adding to it, but
Hey, give yourself credit, man. You're incredible.
No, thank you.
You're incredible.
But also I think ultimately what brings, us together is we're using our platform to give as we go. Like, he doesn't need to give money away at his concert. It's sold out every night, in these arenas around the world.
Way.
And so when someone doesn't need to do that and they still do, and they still find a way, they're like, let's bring this artist in who we don't know yet, but we want the world to know. And how can we work together to raise money for something that we both believe in? So I think that's really what connects me with different artists. Like this one's super special, or anyone else that we work with. Is the thing that connects us is how can we be generous with what we're already doing, not changing what we do, just changing why. And this is just another example of that. But you have to understand, I had not really dived into his music before. And just like a lot of other portraits I've done in the past, when I wanted to learn about Jimi Hendrix, when I was doing his portrait, or Miles Davis, or anyone else, I would go research through their music. And so through this, I've gotten to learn and love more about Andrea Bocelli. Right. And now seeing him every night, I was telling you earlier, it's like the fine art of the voice.
Yes.
It is like the fine art of like production presentation. And I'm just like, I'll be over here on the side, flickering paint, But even then, it makes me want to step up how I present what I do, unlike any other show. and give a fine art performance of performance painting.
It's crazy because I go to some of the shows and it's emotional sometimes. You see people just wiping away tears because you sound like you not trying to get too deep, but sometimes I feel like they like I'm listening, feel like I'm listening to God.
Yeah.
Like that's literally how they feel, and I watch it. It does get emotional. So tonight is at the Wells Fargo Center in beautiful Philadelphia, South Philly, Philadelphia. But that's the other places you performed around the world. What would you say, before we get to that, what would you say has been the challenging part of you might go on vacation or go visit someplace, and then you say, you know what? Somebody asks you, say, oh, you're that guy. Can you create a paint? Can you tell us a story about that?
Yeah. Actually, there's a story. So I had the opportunity to visit Havana, Cuba.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, great. I love cigars. I love rum. Like, I'm just going to go as a visitor with a group of guys. And so we went, and we were also learning about the culture, learning about businesses there, which during that time in 2015, it had just really started opening up more.
Okay.
So they eventually find out who I am.
Uh-huh.
And they said, will you perform at our church?
At a church?
A church tomorrow.
During mass?
It was like a Christian evangelical.
Okay.
Which, by the way, was illegal in Cuba for many years. You could go to jail by just possessing a Bible. So times had changed there. Okay. And as long as I knew we weren't going to go to jail, I was like,
be sure of that, people.
Yeah, so that was the first part was, is this legal? Am I going to get in trouble for self-expression in public?
Yeah, good point. Yes.
You never know.
You don't know.
These are questions that I had. Second was supplies. We're in the most isolated country, only 30-minute flight from the U.S., but it's the most isolated country in the world because of the embargo. So they don't have the supplies, they don't have, the gasoline, like all the things that we take for granted here.
Yeah.
So I said, we'd love to perform, just get these supplies for the night. So like, okay, yeah, we don't have art stores here. Like we barely have supplies. So I said, like, just get what you can. And they go around the island for like a day to do this. They come back the next day and I'm like, this is what you got. And it was a small canvas. I was like, just give me some black paint so I can black it out. And then they said it was white paint, but I think it was like lotion. I don't know what it was. It just didn't look like paint. But I was like, we'll make it work. So we literally bubble gum and duct tape this like canvas to a piece of wood. And I have like the church band play the music. And this place is packed. There's video. If you go on my YouTube channel and look up Cuba, there's video of this on there.
Really?
And they start playing. I start painting. They're like, okay, this is cool. Pick it up, flip it over. This portrait of Jesus unveils. And you could feel like the Holy Spirit just rushed through that place.
Really?
It was a very powerful moment, knowing what it took to get there. I was in the basement of that church, sweating, trying to get ready for this because we only had, maybe 15 minutes when we got there to get ready. And so we figured it out, and ultimately it went really well. But
that's good.
But every day.
How does that how did that leave an impact on you for Cuba? Did you ever go back?
Oh, I went back. So while we were there, I realized you don't have art supplies. You need art supplies. So I asked some artists, I said, make a list of what you need. And they said canvas, paints, pastels, whatever. They just gave me this huge list. I came back with this like 100-yard roll of canvas for this group of artists that we met. We brought back these ton of supplies, which we barely made it in with these. And then we went back to this group of artists and just handed them out, did these art projects together, and then actually performed more and went to different sets to perform. Yeah. So I performed, I don't know, maybe 6 different times in Havana, Cuba.
So just to make sure you're not wanted, right? Like you
that I know of. They may see this clip.
Oh my God. So what would you say that was a challenge, but it's not just a challenge, you gave back. You gave them hope. You did more to help others follow in your footsteps or be at this point. Next question for you is, what has been some other challenging situations for you to perform?
Yeah. I think one of the most notable challenging situations was America's Got Talent. I was sharing with you that to do this, I had to do all the paintings in 90 seconds. So
And normally, just so we clear, so everybody's clear, normally what's the lot of time you allow yourself to, or you ask for normally?
yeah, normally I do my paintings in 5-6 minutes, which is still fast. Maybe 4.5 was still like
Fast.
fast. I do a 6-foot portrait, full color,
Yes.
a distinctive portrait. If I was doing a view, it's gonna look and feel like you. So to do it in 90 seconds was impossible at that time. But I agreed to do it because I knew, look, I had this career up until that point, but I still needed to level up. I needed a real true challenge to get my name out there to the world. And I saw this as an opportunity that we either figure it out or it won't happen.
Now, I seen America's Got Clip. I seen a standing ovation you got, which is incredible. But what people don't see is behind the door. Like, so how did you think that whole changed your life trajectory? What was some of the pitfalls, or what were some of the good things you learned from that, just going through that now I'm coming from now I'm becoming a national celebrity because of this show, and you finished fourth, right?
I came in fourth, yeah,
Came in fourth, which
is a blessing.
Blessed was.
Yeah, we came in first for art because that's what we tell ourselves, but fourth place on that season, yeah.
Okay, that's good. So now tell me, other than that, tell us some other most beautiful places you performed. The biggest place. I know you perform at football games.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I mean, some of them I'd done halftime for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
That was in a snowstorm.
In the arena, in a snowstorm.
In the stadium. Yeah, in a snowstorm. It was
I mean, it's about different.
December 15th on my birthday of 2019. And our plane was actually late coming in. So the game already started when we landed. So now we have to make it to the stadium in like icy roads, snowstorm. We make it there by the end of the first quarter. So we go in, I had to change real quick, go check supplies. My tour manager prepped some stuff, and we just go straight out to the field. And I'm like, what happens when snow hits the paint? I'd never done this. I have no idea. So I was like, we're going to learn today. So we go out there, and sure enough, nothing happens. And I did this painting. But what I did learn is paint will freeze your hands when you dip your...
Little frostbite, little personal
yeah,
heaters out
I was
here.
like, this is it. This is how I lose them in the snow in Kansas City. But that was one. We had done that world tour with Kiss.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Tell them about that. I was a Kiss fan.
Yeah.
Yes, people, I was a Kiss fan growing up. Yes, don't judge me.
And, I mean, we did stadiums in, Moscow, St. Petersburg, Kiev, all throughout Europe. We had done O2 Arena in London, and then just back and forth across North America as well a bunch of times. So, and then, I don't know, I think we've done, live TV stuff on like Latin American TV, European TV. Just, I don't know, I feel like every day is this crazy challenge,
right.
And I think part of it is you set the precedence by doing art that is fast, that also has to be entertaining and has to look good. So there's never a chance where you can just sit back and relax. I would say, maybe this tour with Andrea Bocelli, because there's a symphony playing the music, I don't have to
It's soothing.
worry about that. Yeah. And then he's singing and it's relaxing. But most of the time it's just like, if we're doing an NBA halftime, it is just straight pressure. But I love it, man. I would not be doing this if I did not enjoy that small moment of like pure pressure that I get to feel. I mean, this, being a professional athlete, like you probably love those moments when you got 3 points left or 2 points and there's maybe 35 seconds on the clock and you've got the ball.
Yes.
You still have to make it in the basket.
Yeah, man.
Like no one, just because the clock's going down and you have the ball doesn't guarantee that you're going to make the point.
There we go.
And that's how it feels with what I do. It's everything's set up in there. I still have to make the painting. It still has to get done in time. And so I love that. I enjoy it.
You talk about that pressure, like me, it's but you never lose it. Like my friends, like I do all this runarounds. I have 3 sons, and I do all this runaround to get them, take them here, take them there. They get into the studio, they get back, and people are like, man, you running around like, what do you? I said, man, it's like an adrenaline pump for me. It's like I still feel as though I'm playing. I literally still feel like I'm playing sometimes. It's like it's a thing that kind of get my heart rate up, and I kind of like it. I do work out a lot, but that thing is like that pressure. Sometimes pressure. I know they say pressure versus price, but it makes that. I'm a big believer in that. So you do this, you perform all these big stadiums, but you do it. Let me ask you this about artist work, about the artistry of what you do. You mentioned something on one of your podcasts where you spoke about artists should promote their work. But I know in some art worlds, that's frowned upon. They said it's kind of frowned upon for you to promote your work. Somebody else should speak for you. And I'm like, and that kind of threw me off. So when I seen your podcast and seen that, tell me about why is that? Why is it? I think you should want to promote your work.
Yeah.
Promote yourself. Who can promote yourself more than you?
Yeah.
Like, tell me about that.
I mean, we don't get a second chance at this life. That goes without being said, but I don't think people really understand that. I think that people think that, especially artists, I'm just going to have someone do the hard work for me. I'm going to have someone speak for my dream for me. I'll tell you this, 20 years into this, I'm still fighting for my dream. I'm still trying to fight for me being center stage as an artist at a show. I'm still trying to fight for the right image to portray this person when someone's fighting for something else. Like, it doesn't stop. And the benefit of that along the way has been we're still growing. We still have opportunities coming. And so that's why I say, I asked the question, says who? Like, who's supposed to promote your life and your dream? Who's supposed to speak on your behalf? Who could speak better than you? So it's more so an encouragement to artists. However it appears now, you could put people in place to speak on your behalf. You still have to give them direction. You still have to tell them how to portray what you do with words or with persuasion, whatever that is. You have to take control of your life, your art, your brand, and wherever that goes. And that way you won't be able to blame it on anyone else. Say, well, I didn't succeed because that person didn't say it right. Well, now you're in a position right now to take leadership of your life, of your art life, and go promote it. And so take it a step further. We've got this incredible opportunity with social media. You could change your life. Let's go back. In 2020, when I went from 100 shows to 0, I started posting on TikTok. I started like everyone else, 0 followers. Just started posting on there, sharing, promoting my work.
Yes.
Over the course of a handful of months, I got up to just under 2 million followers. And the new opportunities that come from that have nothing to do with the art world. Like, we're doing brand deals with everyone from, like, we're doing for Amazon right now to, we've done them for Cheetos, Netflix, like all these brands that just doing art alone in a gallery would have never brought to our table. So I think that what's on the other side of you speaking for yourself and speaking up and taking leadership of your art life is opportunities that you really never dreamed of. And there's a lot of opportunity on the other side of negativity. You've got to just leave that behind, and you've got to leave behind the small way of thinking, being scared. It's like, just own it. Own this life, this art you're creating. And that will also ultimately attract people to you.
Yeah.
You're so passionate about it. They want to be around that.
When you're passionate about what you do, first of all, if you do what you love and you're passionate about it, it's not work.
No.
Even though it might bring in income and help feed your family, it's not work because you're passionate. You enjoy doing it. If you're more getting paid, you're probably doing it anyway. And I think a lot of people are just seeking that in their life, like trying to be involved in careers that they're passionate, really love, and you're doing that. So back to traveling around the world, and you've been to all these different continents, stuff like that. Where is the venue where you've performed, other than Cuba, a venue perform where people looking, because I've seen you do things where they right side up, and I've seen you do them upside down. Like, when you've done projects and you've done your thing, and when you finish, people looking at you, flip like, oh my God. What was the biggest reaction you got?
Oh man, there's so many.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have to say, like, so I do a lot of NBA halftimes.
Yes.
And we do different tours as well. But for some reason, we always end up coming back to Madison Square Garden.
Really?
Like, I've probably performed at Madison Square Garden more times than I've performed at any other venue in the world. And we've done Wells Fargo Center a bunch of times. We've done, all kinds of arenas. But Madison Square Garden, New York City, there's something about that audience where, like, you have to really earn them.
Yeah.
But when you do, they love it.
Yes.
And so I've done halftimes for the Knicks where we've done these upside down paintings, or even just making the art process entertaining. The last one I did last year, I think, was they were celebrating the new Wakanda Forever.
Okay.
And there's a video of this online where we got the audience to just turn their lights on. It was the first time I had really done that with an NBA audience. And so midway through, there's enough painting there, and I get the audience like, turn your lights on right now. Let's show the world how bright New York is. And that place was like, let's do it. Like, you earned it, we'll give it to you. And so I think learning about how audiences react in New York, because you have to earn it so much, has really helped me in a lot of different cities.
It's applied more
I'm not
pressure
even
to you.
from New York, and I think that's what makes me appreciate it.
Really?
Is I've got to go there and earn this reaction from them. So I think Madison Square Garden has always had the biggest reaction, and we'll be there next week. At the taping of this, we'll be there next week doing 2 nights there with Andre.
So, okay, now let's talk about the flipping of the paintings. So, I've never been skilled in the art of painting, and I know a lot of artists, but like when I first seen you do it, I was like, how was he able to visually see it, then apply it upside down? How did you get? That's a unique.
I think you could do it.
Yeah.
I think you could probably do it.
You encouraging people to do it. I might get down with it.
I actually encourage anyone to try it. And try this, is print out a portrait on a piece of paper.
Okay.
And turn it over, and then start blocking out all the information that you don't need, but you can still see what that portrait is. And it'll be different for everyone. You could be left with 3 blocks that shows who that person is, but I break it down into the most simplest shapes. So now I'm not doing a portrait upside down. I'm painting shapes. I'm painting, like, when I'm envisioning the Andrea Bocelli portrait, I'm envisioning these triangular shapes for his jawline, these other rectangular shapes for his forehead, and they have to still match up in the right place, which is still hard.
Of course.
But that's what I start breaking it down to, is all these sections of shapes that I know once it feels like this, because I've practiced it and done it over and over. And that's another important part.
Okay.
You have to practice. Like, I don't know what it is about the art world, visual arts. I get the most negativity from people saying, oh, well, of course he could do that because he practiced. And I'm like,
is that a bad thing?
I'm like, yes. I did this 10, 12 times before I hit the stage, because that's what performing artists
And that builds
do.
confidence too.
Of course.
Preparation
Yes.
builds confidence.
And so that's why I encourage them, like, anyone, please try it and do it over and over again and practice it. But start by breaking down the portrait into shapes.
Okay.
And it's the least amount of shapes that give the most information about that person. And then start there. Draw it out, paint it, however you need to do it, and just practice over and over. That's really what I'm doing.
That's spectacular, man. I remember the one you did here years ago was you did Julius Erving and Allen Iverson.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And I was looking, and I was like, how in the world did he do that? And then I said, he's a master. That's why he's who he is. So, like,
by the way, the 76ers have been such an incredible group to work with over the years.
Yeah, man.
I mean, and you saw that was at a gala. That wasn't even at a halftime. We've done several different galas with the 76ers and just stuff here in Philadelphia alone. So it's been a great city to come to.
So tell us, you have Andrea Bocelli on this tour. What else does David have that the world should know and look out for?
My next 10 years is really dedicated to education. So,
which is
ironic because I didn't graduate high school, but I started the process. I enrolled to get my high school diploma.
Okay.
So I'm starting there. I've also developed these courses for artists to help them with their roadmap, to paint and prosper on their journey. And so it's something that's a new world. So I'm still developing that. I'm still going to perform and do that, but it's a new world for me to just educate myself on becoming a better teacher,
Okay.
to help artists, and to apply what I've done right and done wrong over the past 20 years, and just to help a new generation of artists.
Nice. Now, I'm a foodie. Right? Now, because you've been so privileged and honored to travel and to perform, when you're in these cities, when you're in these countries, do you dabble in different cuisines?
Oh, yes.
So tell me what's been some incredible cuisines you remember from your tours like this? Like, you would say, I got to catch a flight just for this.
Yeah, so we were just in Tokyo earlier this
Uh-huh.
year. And have you had blowfish before?
No.
So there's this traditional sort of like blowfish place that we went to, and they actually bring a bowl to the table, and it's boiling water. So there's like a heat thing on there, the boiling water, and then they bring this huge slab of blowfish. This is raw. And the raw blowfish is, if you cut it the wrong way, you could die.
Yes. Poison.
And I think someone may need to look this up, but I think if it is raw. So what you do is you put it into the boiling water and you cook it in front of you, and then you get to eat it like that. But that whole dinner experience, it was actually really good too.
Really?
But I love that. Like, I love, like, even if it wasn't good, I love the foodie experience of the challenge of, like, let's just try it so we can determine if it's
Exactly. And say we did it.
And yeah,
And we lived.
but I would highly recommend that experience if you ever go there. Man, where else? I mean, I've been to the Philippines where, we got invited to like these small little kitchens in the back of these small houses.
They had the best food.
And they're just like, when they welcome you in, you have to eat. So I'm pretty sure we ate balut, which is like it's like a baby chicken in the egg that's not fully developed yet. So you suck that down, eat that.
How was that?
That was not that good. But these are like exotic eating experiences that you can't do anywhere else. And obviously, there's like the French laundries. I live in Sacramento, Napa's nearby. French Laundry was an incredible dining experience.
Okay.
Trying to think what else. And then, New York City.
Everything.
Everything.
So many, yeah.
I would say this New York City halal food.
Okay.
There's a specific cart right next to it's like the Hilton or something, like
yes,
just like a block or two.
The line
like
is down the block.
square,
Right,
yes,
yes.
all day. So I believe it's a halal guy's food cart there.
Yeah.
I will be there next week eating.
People, you stand in line for me from this time. You stand in line from this time.
Yeah, I love free food. I love I love chicken. Anything chicken and waffles, like
Really?
Salty sweet palate.
Yes.
Yeah, there's so much food out there in the world.
So let's transition now to family. Let's talk about, you have children? Yes. Let's talk about your children. Are you kind of, hey, try this paintbrush. Try this. Let's talk about that. Like, how many children do you have?
I have 2 kids, so 11 and 13.
Okay.
And my daughter, who's 11, she's in the musical theater.
Okay.
So she does do art. She's always drawing and doodling.
Okay.
But I never pressure my kids to do anything. My son is a competitive gymnast.
Okay.
So he does, like, he's like at the highest level at his age. So he's 13 now. He competes, travels. And so what's interesting is I've had them both paint with me I had my son do a NBA halftime with me. And he did some painting. I had both of them do this other content piece together where they were helping me paint. And so my dream is that, like, just them being around it and they're learning these other skill sets in musical theater and gymnastics that maybe it'll be applied to wanting to be a performance painter one day. I don't know, but it's nothing I've ever pressured with them, but we have definitely painted quite a bit together.
And you said you painted with them one stage?
Yeah.
Like in front of
well, my son did we did a Sacramento Kings halftime together. We had these 4 dancers, and it was this whole like story. So they played this video before we started of him going to bed, reading a book. And then it picks up with him in the arena. It was like this very theatrical performance.
Really?
And then the 5 panels came together, and it revealed this big Sacramento proud image of like De'Aaron Fox holding the ball. But and then he runs off and it goes back to his dream sequence. But there's stuff like that where I realize my kids really have this natural ability to perform. And so I don't know how that'll translate later on. Maybe they'll be great leaders, maybe they'll be great teachers, but they know how to work well under pressure.
There it is.
Like they know how to practice something over and over, develop a skill, build on like sort of a building blocks from the
Like their father.
foundation. Just like any other, performer. So I hope that maybe they see that in my life. I don't know. Maybe when they're older, they can share more about that. But I'm not pushing art on them, but I'm ready if they ever ask.
So now that you've been successful, you've been traveling, you've been in some of the most highly sought out arenas or performance theaters in the world. As a father, how have you navigated the space of being a successful, well-known father and your family time? How do you, your presence and just who you are as a person, how do you have those talks with them about, they ask you, Dad, what about this? Where are you going to be this year? Where are you going to be this time? Like, how does that work for you?
I think parenting and doing something where you're in the public eye or a performer, entertainer, is you have to learn how to create boundaries with people outside your family.
Okay.
So, for example, when I'm home, it's about the kids. Like I'm doing the school drop-off, the pickup, the activities. I mean, I'm driving them by myself. There's no nanny. Like this is it. So the boundaries are friends that, hey, now you're back in town. Let's go get a drink. Let's get dinner. It's like, guys, this is family time.
Yeah.
And in the past, I don't think I was really good at that when they were younger.
Okay.
And I had to develop that and work at that. I was not natural at just saying no to people.
That's a developed skill.
I had to learn that. And thank God that I did. But I think that's one of the biggest challenges. And I know that they see that because before I did this tour, I just wanted to make sure I spent time with them. We did a family dinner together and, just invest and deposit time into them more before I leave. And when I'm on a normal schedule, I'm sort of in and out of town, just wherever the show calls. But even now it's saying no to shows where I know it's an important date for my daughter. She has a play, can't do the shows. If it's somewhere I need to be with my son for his traveling gymnastics or just something important to him, I got to say no. So no has been the most powerful boundary that I've had to learn and develop to be a better parent.
I love it, man. So David, I'm going to say this. I have been not just watching you from afar, but I've been a fan of yours since you first started 20 years ago, man. And I'm so happy with your success.
Thank you.
And I'm just happy how you're venturing off into different avenues and you're steady broadening your horizon. I think the impact you're having on a performance art thing, you're going to create more Davids. And I think that's important to lead the way for others. You're doing a great job of that. I'm going to see you tonight at the concert.
Yes.
It's going to be an incredible event. And once again, what's the website again?
Yes, so you can visit GerabaldiArts.com or just follow me at GerabaldiArts on social media. It'll spell check for you. So,
my man, I appreciate you being on.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. This
Thank
is a
you
blast.
for making the time for this.
Absolutely.
Man, I told you earlier, but you did an incredible job also pivoting into media.
Thank you.
Great questions. Man, I feel honored to be here sitting with you.
Thank
you for having me.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So once again, people, this is the Marc Jackson Show on wherever you get your podcast from, YouTube, wherever you are. This gentleman, you got to check him out live. Go to his website. Go to his social media. You will be amazed at what this man could do. This man is a gift, and you need to be a part of it. Marc Jackson out.